Good morning, and welcome to Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. And now here's your bright-eyed and bushy-tailed host, the Voice of Doom. Okay, thanks everybody. I hope that everyone's good this morning. It's Sunday, July, I don't know, 19th or something. I don't know what the date is, but it's Sunday, and I thought I'd get up early and do some diatribing. And I figured I'd dress the part because I think they're going to be bringing the mask back again. I don't know. Everybody seems to be saying, oh, we're going back to normal. And it's like, sorry, told you last year, no, there's no normal now. So I thought I'd wear the, and then I have this one in case Toxie comes by. I got an extra. So I'm almost suffocating, but unsafe. And I'm not killing people. That's what I like. I hate killing people. But I'm going to kind of take them off right now because just kind of got used to the mask last year. I mean, I bought like a whole bunch, all different colors and designs, and I kind of got into it. I hated them at first because I couldn't breathe. But after a while, it's like, hey, there's masks aren't all that bad because, you know, I mean, I don't have to smile all the time at work. That's one good thing. I don't have to worry about my breath all the time at work because that's a good thing. So those are two really good things. Problem is half the time you can't understand the people that you're talking to when they don't have masks on. And then once everybody has masks on, it's like communication is like, forget it. And I think that was one of the pleasant byproducts of the masks for certain people that I'll remain nameless. But it's going to be rambling this time. I mean, I didn't plan real well because I know that whole year like the back of my hand, and I don't want to go back. I have tons of notes. I mean, I told you I was obsessive, and after about a week, I'm like, I don't think this is going to end anytime soon. People seem to be shutting down more, not less. So I was getting the gist that, yeah, the shutdown's it's going to go for a while. And the funny thing is I really didn't see that much evidence of COVID. Heard about people getting it, and I'm like, oh no, you're doomed. And it's like, I'm sorry, I mean, it was nice knowing you. And it's like, nah, I was, they're sick for a week and a half. They self-quarantine big time instead, no going out at all. And then they're better. And then they had it. And then they're assuming, well, I had it, so I'll never get it because that's the way all diseases work once you get it once. And I'm like, I don't even know if that's true. And they're already talking about vaccines back in April. And I'm kind of thinking, well, they haven't found a vaccine for AIDS yet. So why would I think that they're going to just quickly come up with something real fast? I mean, I have no real faith in that happening. But I have to think about everything, and by April, I'm kind of trying to really figure it out, and I'm so stupid. I mean, I'm such a geek that, I made a flow chart. I don't know if you can see it. It's archaic, it's primitive, but I'm going to figure this out. I don't like this. I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to use a flow chart because when I took computer science back in 1982 in college, it was fun because our professor was an old man who was facing the blackboard while he lectured all the time. And he starts the class off first day talking about stuff that I have no idea what he's talking about because I don't know anything about computers. And it's like, okay, so the new hard drives are going to come up with this, and we're going to have a floppy disk. I didn't even know. Did he say floppy? That doesn't make sense, floppy. We were using punch cards, and I'm like, I don't really understand even the beginning of what I'm doing because it's like I've had hard drives before, many hard drives, but I don't know what that has to do with computers. So he's mumbling and I'm confused and we're working with punch cards and it's kind of on the cusp before, PCs kind of got big. Only a few elite students had PCs and could print out their report. No internet yet. But it was fun to take computer science. I wasted my time and really didn't learn much, but I did like flowcharts because it helps me organize my thoughts. Anyway, I'll go through the flowchart a little bit. I mean, it's just how my mind is like, I had to start from the beginning. Because if you got to figure something out, you got to go, okay, where are we going to go from a starting point? So the starting point is, was it by chance or was it planned? And I'm talking about the confusion and the clamp down and the whole thing. Chance happening, I mean, either way, we're screwed. If it's chance, we're screwed because that means cause and effect is coming to rear its ugly head. And if it's planned happening, that's bad too. Okay, it was a chance happening, so I go to medical authorities, advise president, and I'm like, who gave the word that we're going to shut down or we should shut down? And who told the governors? And, March 15th, sudden shutdown, no warning. Why? And I go off into a tangent with the WHO and CDC and then corrupt and incompetent. And it's kind of where I leave chance happening because if it's chance, it's hard to chart it. Planned happening, is it China and Iran? Because that was my first theory, is China and Iran were working together because I knew there was some connection there. Anybody that watches carefully knows there was. Or was it the U.S.? And that's, by U.S. I mean maybe they didn't start the virus, but maybe they're finding a way to capitalize on this mess. And if it was China and Iran, I just put one square under that and say it's caused death and economic collapse. And that's the end game for that. Now, U.S., that gets a little complicated. Got two routes. The U.S. government, or is it the powers that be, which is kind of the real government? Is the oligarch billionaires or the internet, robber barons? Or are they working together? So it's the U.S., but is it the government or is it the PTB, powers that be? Okay, so let's just say it's the U.S. government and, what did I say? Control. Drastic change without complaint leads to economic fallout, hide the deficits, bail out states, create more money equals hyperinflation. And we're seeing it now. So I knew hyperinflation would come eventually like 20 years ago. But they don't know what hyperinflation is. And I don't even know what it is because I know it's going to be like Weimar Germany and it's going to be a mess. Okay, the other route I had is government is guilty and control to social engineering, social re-engineering, social reimagining. Use that. Human contact discouraged. I mean, it's a major thing with the masks and people get used to, they got used to social distancing right away. That people took to that like a duck to water. No entertainment, no religious gatherings. Arbitrary rules equals despair. So there you have it. That's 2020, pretty much in a nutshell. I didn't solve anything, but you can see what's going to happen. And unfortunately, 2020 is a precursor. If people think that 2020 was bad, I'm sorry. I told everybody that nobody's seen hard times except for the World War II vets who are leaving. So I just feel sorry for the optimism. I want to feel like things are getting better, but how can I? Because look at the government. Just look at it. I'm going to get into government and 2020 and the elections kind of as it happens in the sequence, but I have been so into doing my diatribing lately because I'm kind of really getting into this and I think I'm making sense. But been so into it that I kind of haven't watched the news for 2 or 3 days, and it's like I discovered something that when you watch the news every day and you get all these different things every day, it's kind of like being that frog in the hot pot of water or the warm pot. You turn up the heat slowly and the frog doesn't notice until he's been cooked. And that's how watching the news every day is. It's just like it gets a little bit worse every day, but I'm not really, panicking. Now I go 2 or 3 days without watching the news and turn it on and it's like, oh my God, we've gotten exponentially worse in 3 days. I mean exponentially worse. I'm not talking about it's like 50% worse. I mean it's twice as bad as it was 3 days ago. And it was everything's obsessed with the voting and the barons, the internet barons, and the technology. And now we're finding out, yeah, the government is in cahoots with the social media moguls, and they're controlling what we hear and don't hear, and it's all to manipulate the so-called elections and just manipulate people in general. And I don't want to get too much into some things because I'll be banned. So, and I'm not saying that jokingly. So I don't want to really talk too much about some things. I won't even say the word. But COVID was kind of irrelevant, and it was all the other things put together that kind of made 2020. I mean, I know it wasn't irrelevant. Lots of people died, of course. Lots of people died from the flu 2 years ago, too. And nobody died from the flu last year because they all died of COVID. So when you get run over by a truck and you died from COVID, I mean, everybody knows that's old jokes. I don't want to do that. So now I'm losing my train of thought, but I was basically talking about how now I'm going to lose it. I don't want to be like Biden. But basically, okay, now I'm there. I said Biden. It's like, yeah, and that's what I was going to say. The government is basically concentrating mostly, from what I see, on, trying to change the voting rules in all the states when they said in November after the election that everything was perfect. Voting was all perfect. Don't look at anything. And now they seem to be obsessed with two things. One is changing all the voting rules, and it seems to me like a lot of the rules they want, and they give them all these sugary names, Voter Rights Act. And it's like, wait a minute, these guys are like suppressing these votes over here, and they're encouraging people to come in and just vote with no ID, and it's like, that's ridiculous. That's why they want all those immigrants or whatever undocumented, Americans to come in by the masses, because then they can just come in and vote without ID. I mean, come on. You think we're dumb. You think we're stupid. So that's one main issue, is let's try to see if we can get every state to change the elections to our liking. Doing the same thing with immigration. Don't let Cubans in because they're kind of right-wing. They've been under this communist crap for a long time. So none of them. Leave them out. Bring in the huddled masses, from down south, and they will be Democrats because we assume they're all Democrats because we are condescending, pieces of crap. And the second main thing that seems to be obsessive with the government right now, and by government I mean the Democrats because they run everything, is this, I don't know, was it January 9th? I didn't even watch that. I was surprised that it was such a tame reaction to the election. I mean, it's like when the left wing is mad, they burn down cities. When the right wing is mad, they go to the source, and then they're lambasted as the worst possible monsters that ever walked the earth. And they should all be put in jail indefinitely without a trial. And they kind of have been. I mean, I kind of followed that. Nobody thinks about those guys because they're the worst of the worst. They're the very thing that makes America horrible. Is they're white, and they dress up in Viking costumes, and they use the flag to break down doors, and that's just plain anarchy. And it's like, I'm not going to say impunity. But saying that a handful of people that are really, really mad about the elections, and not because somebody lost either, so don't start with that. I'm going to get mad. to lambaste them and to ignore completely and even say, well, it's really not happening when cities are burning, people are getting killed. I mean, of all races, creeds, and colors getting killed, businesses getting burned down, in the middle of an epidemic when they're already closed. So it's like, we're bound and determined to destroy you. And I'm getting to 15, over 15, and I had a nice little rant there to start the morning, and I didn't get very far on 2020, but I think I kind of got a lot in there. I'm pretty satisfied. I hope people, you know, are getting something out of it. I like to think that I'm saying the right thing, but I'll let you go for now. I'm going to do another episode. I'm going to really kind of do a marathon. I don't know if I'll post them all at the same time, but it's going to go on and it's going to get kind of dramatic. So that's it. Kind of talking about the Masque, just kind of peripheral, stuff and politics. So it's 16 minutes already. That's too long. I'll do another episode. Have a good morning, everybody, and thanks.